Good morning, Chair City Church. How are you doing? Can you hear me? Am I on? That's good stuff. Thank you, AVO team. You are awesome. So when I was in the process of coming to faith in Jesus, probably my late 20s, believing in God, there's a lot of things, kicking around in my mind, but there were several prominent thoughts that I recall at the time. One of them was a thought that, as I remember, made me feel rather alone, sort of all by myself. I found myself, as I recall, often thinking, I don't know if anyone really knows me. And I don't know if I know myself. I could be in the midst of dozens of people. I could be very familiar with a good amount of them. But I thought I'm kind of all alone. Or I had thoughts that was a summary of my thoughts, that I'm kind of just by myself. I had a lot of questions like, who am I? But also, who tells me who I am? And is this what I should lean on and trust in to tell me who I am? There was a lot of change going on in my life. And again, but with all the wrestling with the questions, and I just felt I needed to resolve. I was 28 years old, and I'm thinking this is it. I'm getting older, and I'm looking at 30. It's like, wow, I just need to bring some answers to these questions. But in all of that, I'm like by myself. And in the middle of our Bibles, we have what we know is the book of Psalms. It's a collection of songs, is what they actually are. Songs that were written to praise and to worship God, words that were written for us to get a greater glimpse of who God is and who we are in the midst of God's great work. Today we're going to read from Psalm 139. It really is an extraordinary piece of literature, meaning whether you believe in God or not, it gives such a great glimpse into human beings and how they function and who this, divine God is, this deity. And I say it that way because even if you don't believe in God, it's just, I encourage you to take a hold of it. But for us who do believe in God, it's just food to the spirit, man. It's water to the soul. I encourage you to read the entire chapter, ponder it, take time, go over it, let it settle in on you. Today, we're going to read Psalm 139, verses 1 through 3, and really hover a lot around Psalm 1, 2, and 3 kind of support 1 a lot. Verse 1 says of Psalm 139, "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me." Those years that I would be wrestling, with, feeling alone, that really, when I came to faith in Christ, it certainly went in a better trajectory, and I began to grow in a healthier way in that, but there's still, it wasn't as profound, but it still existed, right? For someone to know me, to be known. The truth is, I think looking back, there was something inside of me that pushed back at such a thought to be known, that kind of resisted that process of anything and anyone really knowing me. And as I look back, I realized two things. One, I seemed to be all over the place in my thinking, especially prior to coming to Christ, and even right as I was coming to Christ, I was all over the place, and God was in every one of those places. Yes? Yeah. God was everywhere. Wherever I was in my thoughts, wherever I was in my being, God was there. Verse 1 says, "You have searched me, O Lord, and you know me." These words tell us that God knows everything about you. Now, it's rather astonishing for us to grasp that. Maybe perhaps we just can't wrap our minds around it, so we just won't even let it settle in, and we just toss it off to a nice cliche, a hype, bunch of words that are kind of hype. But to really take a hold of that and say, God knows everything about me. And yet, what an opportunity to pause today and to take a hold of that. And taking a hold and embracing that fact that God knows everything about me At the same time, we now realize that to the extent we take a hold of that, it's to the extent that we can know more of God. As we look through this, we want to know more of God. One of the amazing and divine things about our Heavenly Father is God is omniscient. It's a bigger word. It's two parts. Omni means all, right? And then science, meaning like the idea of knowledge. So omniscient, all knowledgeable. God is all-knowing. During my pursuit of a master's degree in counseling, in one of my first classes, it might have been my first class, Dr. Raymond Pendleton, just a brilliant guy and a very kind and loving human being, says I remember him saying one of the greatest needs of every human being is to be known. To know and to be known. To know, deeply know another being, another entity, and to be known. It's a great need and desire of each and every human being. Each one of us has that within ourselves. We want to be known. We need to be known. As much as, like myself, there might be a resistance, a pushback, avoiding of it, you want it. It's who you are as a human being. And that's why you try and connect to people and meet people. And that's why you might be a little bothered if you're not being accepted. That's why you go to clubs and groups. That's why many of you come to church out there while you're tuning in. We need and want to be known. That's why some of you are on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and putting on. You want to be known. You long to be known. And that's a good and a natural thing. It's how God created you to be. And today, I want you to be aware. I want you to be very aware that you are known by God. And it's a knowledge that is divine. It's a knowledge that is also very personable. The word here used for God, when the psalmist sings out, you, O Lord, have searched me. The word there, Yahweh, and I've mentioned it previously, recently, it's a description of God that says he's personable. This personal God knows you. And that in verse 1 where it says, you have searched me and you know me. That word know. You know me, God. That word know, the word there used in the original Hebrew language describes the highest intimacy that can exist between two beings. It's the same word that's used in the book of Genesis, where it says, and Adam knew Eve. Now, most of you, if you've been in church for a long time, are familiar hearing that word in the context of, Adam had sex with Eve. Well, that application is really very minimalistic. It brings the whole passage to a place of being misunderstood and even somewhat mistreated and misapplied. It's so much more than that, because God intended relationship between man and woman to be so much more than sexual intercourse. He meant for a man and a woman to have the deepest intimacy that two human beings could have, that they would truly know each other. And there is so much more than knowing somebody than having intercourse with them. That's not necessarily knowing somebody. God calls us to know him and then to come into closer relationship and know another person. We read here in Psalm 139 that the God who created you and I, the God who knows us, here now wants to have an intimate relationship with us, a personal relationship with us. And he wants us after he has searched us, after he knows us in the deepest way. It's just a beautiful thing. Can you imagine the psalmist is singing this? If I had a good voice, I'd sing it to you, but I don't. I mean, these are songs. He's singing God, and he's singing, and they're playing the harps and whatever instruments they have, and he's singing this. God, you've searched me. Lord, you know me. It's a praise. It's joyful. I have a list of songs. I mean, like I said, I'm really into music, and many of you are. It's kind of part of our culture. I have a list of songs that I attach to my love and my admiration of my wife. From when I first met her, our wedding song was, I picked it out. It was Beautiful in My Eyes by Joshua Caddison. It was good then. It's great now because now our lives really are continually so in tune with the words. It speaks about a couple coming to know each other and growing in the journey of life and how the woman is always beautiful in the man's eyes. And that fits me and my wife. The first song I ever connected to Christy was Baby I'm Amazed by Paul McCartney. That's a good one. Right? Then there's You Are So Beautiful to Me by Joe Cocker. I like that because his voice is similar to my voice, right? Like especially at the end when he's like, you are so beautiful to me. Did you ever hear the end? You know, like it cracks up a lot and it's high and yeah. Modern times, John Legend, all right? All of Me. It's a good song. I put that into my wife, you know. Cause I like my favorite line of the song is, 'cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, or your perfect imperfections. My kids don't like it when I sing that song to my wife because I do love her curves and all her edges. I mean, more songs. How about Frankie Valli? I like that one. I Love You, Baby, because these are just good words. And again, this is the songs I attribute to my relationship with my wife. This is 60s, right? Frankie Valli, you're just too good to be true. Can't keep my eyes off you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I want to hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You are just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. I love you, baby. Okay, listen. So, listen to this. My friends, God knows all of you, and he loves you so much that he cannot take his eyes off of you. He cannot take his eyes off of you. My wife's an incredible person. I have watched her serve, honestly, the last 4 weeks like I've never seen her serve and give her life to others in her church. I don't think she's given an hour under 200 hours in the last 4 weeks as we kicked off the family action of the summer jam at the ending of June, and then the 3 barbecues at our home, and also having other people during the week to support them. And then recently VBS, crazy. 3 days was an amazing time here. It was really a precious treasure when one night, because during the night she's walking out of here, her and Justin, 10 o'clock at night, going back into the next day. And I remember watching one night when her and Justin were like finishing up and getting ready to go. And I remember, I flashed back to when she was taking a Justin to VBS when he was like 6 years old. And I'm like, man, who would think? Crazy, right? Here we are full circle now, and here she is standing alongside of Justin, who's heading up and leading a VBS. That's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Yeah. My wife is the one I love most of all in the world, my wife, Christy. My wife is also the one that I've hurt most of all in the world. She has seen me at my best, and she has seen me at my worst. And she's seen all of that sometimes in the span of minutes, less than an hour. She's seen who I am in crisis, in pain, in sorrow, in anger, and in sin. And sometimes she's seen all of that in one moment or a short span. She's heard me speak love, words of love, even while I act in a hateful way. And she's seen me act in a hateful way only then to break down in sorrow and tears and speak words of love. She has seen me love my children as a father should love his children. And she has seen me confuse and exasperate my children as a father should not. And through all this, she loves me. And through all this, she knows me. And that's what makes it so remarkable. And that's what makes that love so beautiful and so strong and so precious and so reliable and so worthy of my trust. Because I know she knows me. She knows me, she knows me, she knows me. And so I truly know she loves me. Are you hearing me? Our love and our intimacy, Christy and I, is driven to the extent that we know each other. And to the extent that we believe that God knows us and we know our Heavenly Father. So to the extent that we are aware that God knows us, each one of us, that we can know God deeply in intimacy, that now is the basis and the fuel of our intimacy in our marriage. God knows you and loves you. He is omniscient. He has searched you and knows you better than anybody else, and he still loves you. It makes me sad. And I don't say this in a condescending way, like I'm better or I got something going on that's better than somebody else. Let's just stay away from that. But I'm sincerely sad that there are people walking around this earth who are moving through life and they are not aware that God knows them. That they might never realize that God knows them. And he's a personal God and he loves them. The Bible says there's a way that seems right to people, but that way doesn't bring life, and life in its fullest, it brings death. Every day, what would it be like if every day you got up and said to yourself, God knows me? I don't know what's coming today. We don't know what's coming. You know, we get up in the morning and we don't know an hour later, 2 hours later, that by the end of the day, our life could look very different than it did when we got up. We don't know what's coming. We might be aware of what's on the calendar, and even that can seem daunting to us at times. But to start the day with this inspiring truth that conditions all of your being, your soul, your mind, your heart, all of you, for life. And that truth is God knows me. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 13 says, nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of him who we must give account. God sees everything. All of your heart, all of your being, all of your soul, all of your life is known by God, which means God is with you everywhere and every time and every place. And that is an accurate thing to say, and it's an encouraging thing to say. You see, because God's omniscience implies his omnipresence. God is not only omniscient, he is also omnipresent. God is omnipresent. And again, the word omni is all and present. God is everywhere, in every place, all time. His personal, his knowledge and his love and his power are everywhere. And if God is everywhere, that means you are not alone, and you never were alone. See, loneliness is a feeling that lets you know things are not as they should be. It's a very natural feeling, but it's telling you something's wrong. You were not created to be alone, and you should not be thinking you are alone. And what's crazy is the more we think we're alone, if you study relationships, we actually perpetuate behaviors and ways of thinking, responding, and acting that distances us from other human beings. And the way to sever that and change that is to know that God is with me, and he's a God who knows me. Stats, research really currently tell us that people think and feel more alone than ever. You've heard that, right? You've heard it said that a person can be in a crowd of people and still feel alone. I mean, I know that's been said a lot, but there's truth to it. Why are they feeling like? Well, why is that? It's something that's going on deep in here. I know what it's like to be in a crowd of people and feel like no one knows me, and maybe even feel like I don't know if I want anybody to know me right now, right? Yesterday, I went to Fenway Park to see the Red Sox play the Toronto Blue Jays. I think it's good they call it a park because it's just too small to be a stadium. Like Yankee Stadium is a stadium. Fenway Park was a small place, cool place to watch a ball game. I get it, you know. But there I was in the midst of this. The place was packed, right? And the crowd was for Fenway huge. And you want to see it? All right, I'll show it to you. Go ahead. So good. Do you hear me singing? It was good. It was good. So now, I'm a big Yankee fan for our guests and those out there online. You know, I'm not part of Red Sox Nation, and I never will be. You know, I wasn't wearing any Red Sox stuff. People there thought I was a Red Sox fan, like I was one of them, but no way. I wasn't with them, and they weren't with me, you know. If they had known who I was, they might have mistreated me on the spot, right? But they should have realized I was a Yankee fan when a foul ball got hit in our area, and I literally dove onto the concrete stairs or near the stairs to get the ball. That's something a New Yorker does, right? I've noticed they're a bit more careful about it at Fenway, you know? They weren't like diving over people, pulling, fighting for the ball like they do at the stadium. Anyway. But, hey, sure. Or, you know, you feel, hey, you're alone. Because they don't know you. You're not known. But I'm here to tell you today that you are not alone. God is with you, truly in every way. He has searched the depth of your being, and he knows you. And that's just it. You see? The words become more weighted. Oh, I know you, I love you. Yeah, but do you know me? Because to the extent that you know me is the extent that you can truly love me. To the extent that I know I can trust in this relationship, that I can give all of myself to you, is to the extent that you really know me. And I can be known in a healthy way, and I can know others in a healthy way. And this all begins with us right here, right now, believing that God knows us, and we can deeply and truly know him. Today, will you come to that place of believing God knows me? And the first step in that is believing in Jesus Christ. Yeah. God knows that more than anything else, you must come to believe in Jesus. You need to draw close to Christ. And for that to happen, your sins must be forgiven. Now that's a word that's gotten a lot of, been described in different ways, and people have a lot of perspective on that word sin. But sins are things we said and we've done, ways we acted when we didn't realize and live life from a place that God knows us and that we can know him, right? Maybe from places where we felt alone, although we might not have said those words, but that's what was driving us. We felt alone. We felt disconnected. And because we need not to be that way, that loneliness is telling us that something's up. We try and fill that gap. We try and fill that void. We try and get away from that. And in doing that, we often will act and do things in a way that deter from what God has for us. And sometimes we make messes when we do that for us and for other people. And God says, you know what? I forgive you. Come today to believe in Jesus, my son. Because I know you. I know what you need. And you need to be forgiven. Because if you're forgiven, then you know you are loved and you are valued and you are wanted and you are forgiven. And don't you think that you're not good enough to know me and for me to know you. You are. My son gave his life for you. And don't think that I don't know you, because I do. I know it all. I've searched you. And you are forgiven. All of you. Every bit. And all of this because I want to have an intimate, close relationship with you. And the first step of that is for you to say yes to Jesus. The greatest example and extent of my love for you. So today, will you say yes to Jesus? If you're in here, and I have this way of saying, if you're kicking the Christian thing around, I'll say that. Or if you've been, around the Christian church thing for a long time, And the reason I say that is because I watch the lives of many Christians, and I realize that sometimes they seem like they're stuck, or they're in a place where they've allowed culture or their perspectives or what they come up out of to place limitations on them from really giving themselves to God, from really believing God knows me, and seeing that permeate their being and having a revolution from within cast out into their life. So maybe you've been kicking this Christian thing around a long time, but you've actually not taken a hold of this great truth. God knows me. He has searched me. He loves me. He wants to be intimately close with me. And now because of that, I can know him so well. And I want to give all of myself to that being. I'm not going to limit how much I can give to God. Listen to me. You live that way. Look at me. You live that way. I love you, and I'll express that soon. You might not live that way every day. But here and there, some of us more than not, we try and see how we can protect ourselves from giving too much to God. Because that's our culture, right? That's what our culture teaches. That's what our culture shows us. Well, some says nothing. We want to balance. People say, Dave, you don't have any balance. Good. I don't want any balance in my life. What was balance about the cross? What was balance about those who come before me and giving their lives for Christ, who carried that torch? There was no balance. I like to call it rhythm. I like rhythms. We're human beings. We go. We got to pull back. We got to do a little protection. We got to replenish. I get that. Somebody said to me recently, Dave, ministry is rewarding, but it's not replenishing. I'm like, oh, it's so true. But if you've been kicking this Christian thing around for a while, maybe today you can be encouraged. You can be inspired to say, wow, this God, he knows me. And I'm just going to settle in on that. And I want to give all that I am and all that I can to this God. Because in that, I will know more of him. And that's where I'm going to have my peace and my joy. And that's where I'm going to be able to be honest with God and honest with myself. And that's how I'm going to be able to have greater relationships with people in our life, in your life. That's how it happens. That's how it happened for Christy and I. We have continually did this dance, and it has meant so much to us. To see our relationship through that lens, that God knows us, God is with us as we interact with each other. And through that, now we can know each other in that, and we can become closer and more intimate and through that, in all that imperfection. So today, renew your relationship with God. Today, we come to Jesus as your Lord and Savior. We want to know about that. We do. I mean, it's why we do all of this. It's why we're out here, so that you can come to know Jesus, so that you can know more of Jesus, and that it will change you. It'll transform you. So this is how you can let us know that you are having this come to Jesus moment, or giving more of myself, renewing my relationship with Jesus. You can, if you came in, you were handed a connection card, and on one side of that card it says, My Next Step, and you can look down a bit, and you see where it says, I've begun a new relationship with Jesus, or I'm renewing my relationship with Jesus. Complete the card, bring it to the guest steps table out there on the left side in the lobby, and they'll give you a package. It's got some unique stuff in there. It's got a really interesting and unique and effective Bible for this time in your life. I still pick that Bible up once a month to look at it, and it stirs something in me, and it gives me another insight into my relationship with God. So I encourage you to get that package. If you're out there online, you can text one word, Chair City, to 97000. And you'll see that form pop up. Scroll down under My Next Step. You can let us know you are beginning a new relationship with Jesus today, or you're renewing your relationship with Jesus. Send it in, and we will get you out that package. And if you are into digital more than, one-to-one today, in front of you on the back of a seat, you'll see a little card. It says Chair City Post. There's a QR code there. Scan that QR code, and that connection card will pop up. Scroll down. You'll see the area where you can let us know that you've come to this place in your life at this time with Jesus. Complete it. Send it in to us, and we will mail you out that gift package. Let's wrap this up. So this has been an incredible 4 or 5 weeks, from the ending of June till this weekend. I'd say it's been the most effective and vibrant and active 4 or 5 weeks in the history of Chair City Church at this time of the year. We pivoted somewhere in June, myself, Christy, my family and leaders in the church, my core team, we pivoted, and we said, let's go about it this way. I'm grateful we did. It's taken so much. I mean, the ending of June, the family FX event here, that summer jam, taking everything out, redoing, creating an entire different environment for the auditorium. The food, the fun, the teachings was fantastic. And then, of course, we had our prayer walk, our walking around the city and interacting with firemen and police department and people walking through the streets, and a group just praying for people was also so wonderful. Then we had the 3 barbecues at my home, right? 60, 70, maybe approaching 80 people each time coming to our home. We've seen people that, during the last 2 years, it's been kind of fragmented here. People were able to come together. People were able to meet each other for the first time, families. It just really was encouraging. We're seeing the goodness that has come from that as well. And then, of course, this last week, our first ever VBS. How fantastic was that? Yes, it was really great. I mean, and we did it in a way that we had always envisioned when we would do it. That 95% plus of the kids there, and we averaged close to 50 kids a day, there was not one negative happening that I'm aware of came about. That's pretty awesome, right? They worked so hard. They were so open. There was not one negative, and there is a plethora of testimonies, of messages, of kids loving it, of kids learning, of kids wanting to come back, of parents encouraged. This is phenomenal, yes? 95% plus were kids from Chair City Church. If you know Church World, you know that's unheard of for a VBS. But that's our vision. 95% plus. And attendance ranged from 98% to 100% day to day. Right? You are Chair City Church. You are such an extraordinary group of people. I was telling the volunteers in the hub, and I meant to say this in a funny way. I don't know if it came out funny, but I said, all of you, you're a blessing and you're a curse. Yeah, they didn't laugh either. So, okay. Anyway, what I meant by that is that, people will ask me, Dave, as a church, how do you accomplish so much? How do you do so much? And I say, well, it's our church, meaning the church are people. They roll with me in Christi. They are there with us. They give, they serve, they sacrifice, they make themselves available. We are Chair City Church. You are an extraordinary group of people. We are better together, and we are changing lives. And there are people, the last several weeks have been so hard and so painful in people's lives. And I'm so glad to know that whether it's 1 or 2 or 4 of you that have come by people's with a phone call, a text, a meal, coming by their home, taking them to the hospital, whatever it could be, that you've rallied by people's side in this peculiar time, that people have woken up one morning and see their lives changed by losing people, by terrible news, by illnesses, death. It's just been a wave. And in all of this, you have rallied. And in all of this, we have ministered in an extraordinary capacity. I see the spirituality of the two, right? Paul says you battle not against, you battle not against flesh and blood, but spiritual principalities, dark forces. We are in an extraordinary time, this church. What is ahead for us in the near future is amazing. What God is doing now with our soon-to-be-finished Dinah project, the way we're connected to the community, other things that are upon us that reach out into other parts of the world. God is doing something great here continually. The best is really yet to come. And I say this to all of you. As God prepares you for what's ahead, I say to those who have suffered emotionally and physically in the last few weeks with pain that's come into people's lives, I say this. God knows you and he loves you. To God be the glory.